for common ground. John Doolittle had his turn. I'd like a chance.
Well, I got to recall some of my good old days as a radio DJ this morning, thanks to Cahill, which calls itself Cool 101. It's a station that plays the oldies, and morning man Mark Leonard wanted me to play some of my favorites, perhaps not realizing that my favorite oldies were older than most of the tunes in their library. We had to mix and match some of their tunes and ours. Good time was had by all. About time for us to wrap it up. Jennifer in L.A.
All right, Dick, that's it for now, but I'll be back on News 10 at 6 with more from L.A. on this, the 6-month anniversary of the riots that tore this city apart.
See you then. CBS Evening News is next.
Presidential candidates try to hit some hot buttons as the race appears to tighten up and the clock winds down. American women now have a new birth control option. We'll tell you all about it. And Eye on America. Tonight, is there a hidden danger in your new carpet?
If there had been a warning label on that carpet, I would have told them the next morning, take it out.
This is the CBS Evening News. Good evening, Dan Rather reporting. We're down to the final 100 hours of the U.S. presidential campaign. Most polls, for whatever they may be worth, indicate that Governor Clinton may have a lead. President Bush says he has the momentum and that he is absolutely confident he will close and win. Let's check in now with our CBS News Campaign 92 correspondents in the field. Susan Spencer with the Bush campaign, Bill Lagatuda covering Ross Perot, and Richard Threlkeld with the Clinton camp. First, Bill Lagatuda in Dallas. Bill?
Dan, Ross Perot tonight is where he began his campaign on the Larry King talk show. And if he's lucky, there won't be many calls about spying and conspiracies. But at a campaign stop in Denver last night, Perot couldn't seem to walk away from his charges that the president's men were out to get him.
Day after day after day, somebody comes up with some excuse to attack my integrity. My integrity is a matter of record. My integrity was never questioned until the Republican dirty trick started after it in this June. Let me just say this, it's all silly putty. It's nothing to do with anything that concerns the American people, and I just look at it and marvel.
Today, there was more for Perot to marvel at. A group of his former volunteer coordinators may sue Perot for allegedly running credit checks on them and then forcing them out of the campaign.
While we were taking Ross Perot at his word, he was secretly investigating us.
Perot has admitted investigating some of his people, but only, he implied, the suspected troublemakers. Perot's new faithful don't care about any of this. Some in Hollywood today elevated Perot to new heights.
The man is honest. When I search my heart, I find that he's the man for the job.
But if Perot wants to expand beyond this base, he may want to stop sending mixed messages. For example, in his commercials, there's this Perot.
I'd been taught always to share with other people.
While in real life...
Look, I don't have to prove anything to you people.
And 5 great children, 6 wonderful grandchildren.
Because it's none of your business.
Which may explain why Perot steered clear of the press last night, and why, when he heard a Denver TV station wasn't airing one of his programs, he made this billionaire-sized promise.
We will get the message through if I have to buy a station here. So don't worry about it.
Ross Perot made another incredible promise last night. He said if elected, he would have major programs detailed, ready to go on all the issues by Christmas, though he offered no specifics. Susan Spencer's traveling with the Bush campaign in Michigan tonight. Susan?
Bill, the president was in uncommon form today on this, his 11th trip to the state of Michigan. His mood was buoyed by a local poll showing the race a virtual tie here.
We're in the home stretch. We're closing the gap. We're going to finish the job on November the 3rd.
On the Bush campaign these days, you are upbeat, or else. The Michigan poll adding ammo to the claim that the president is on the move, although Democrats heartily dispute it. Many people are undecided, and Mr. Bush could hardly contain himself today when warning them against the Democrats, calling them at one point bozos.
If you listen to Governor Clinton and Ozone Man, if you listen to them, you know why I call him Ozone Man? This guy is so far off in the environmental extreme, we'll be up to our neck in owls and out of work for every American. This guy's crazy. He is way out, far out, man.
But in economically strapped Michigan, hecklers tried to spoil the fun. The state's governor says it doesn't mean a thing.
We've seen the Republican vote come home very solidly, and then in recent days, 2 or 3 days now, we're starting to see the independent vote.
Michigan is another of those states Mr. Bush won in '88 and badly needs now. Certainly he's going all out to show confidence.
The American people know what the Arkansas record was. They know what waffling in character means. And I am going to win election on November 3rd.
Well, perhaps it was the mood of the day. Perhaps it's a sign of how much trouble Mr. Bush may be in. In any case, he has now decided to do an interview with MTV, something he laughed at a few months ago when Governor Clinton did it. And now for more on the Clinton campaign, here's Richard Threlkeld in New Jersey. Dick?
Susan, even as we speak, Bill Clinton is inside the courthouse here in Jersey City giving his last big policy speech of the campaign. Much of it is about AIDS. He's promising to lead an all-out effort against AIDS if he's elected president. It's a message to the gay and lesbian community, and notice that he's counting on their votes next Tuesday. Estimates are that at least 5 million gays and lesbians will vote, and about 9 out of 10 of them are expected to vote Democratic. Clinton's been courting their votes all along.
What I came here today to tell you in simple terms is I have a vision, and you're a part of it. I believe tomorrow will be better than today if we act, and we're all a part of the same community, and we'd better start behaving as if we are.
They've come out of the closets, into the voting booths, and they're going to elect Bill Clinton and Al Gore.
All this autumn, in places like Austin, Texas, people like Glenn Maxey, the first openly gay member of the Texas legislature, have been signing up gay and lesbian voters.
Just fill it out, your name and your current address.
They're attracted by Clinton's pledge to extend civil rights legislation to homosexuals, appoint some to administration jobs, and do more about AIDS. In contrast, they say, to what the president has not done.
Particularly as relates to HIV issues or AIDS, is the fact that the administration has not properly addressed the issue.
And as the Republicans made clear at their convention in Houston, no homosexuals need apply.
This election is a watershed. It is an election that for the first time in the history of this country, our issues are being discussed.
Bill Clinton's vision for a better America includes job quotas for homosexuals.
Some on the religious right are running a TV ad campaign targeting Clinton's ties to the gay community, hoping to scare voters away from voting Democratic.
Is this your vision for a better America?
Whichever proves stronger, gay power or gay backlash, this will mark the first presidential campaign in which gays and lesbians have begun voting in a block in their own self-interest, and perhaps not the last. Dan?
Richard, President Bush has now called both Ross Perot and Bill Clinton crazy. When he called Perot crazy, Perot responded. Today he said that Clinton was crazy. Has Governor Clinton responded?
No, he hasn't yet, and I would be surprised if he does. He's done this well, sticking with his economic message, and as you know, Dan, in politics and other things, you dance with them that brung you.
Richard Threlkeld in Jersey City, New Jersey. Thanks. Our coverage of Campaign 92 continues in a moment with a reality check. Tonight, the candidates, the press, and the blame game. Later in the broadcast, Eye on America. Evidence that new carpeting may make you sick. Ross Perot and Bill Clinton are shelling out a lot of money for network television time next Monday night, Election Eve. Perot, Clinton, and President Bush are all spending records amount for their TV advertising blitz this campaign year. For advertising on just the 3 major over-the-air broadcast networks, Ross Perot is spending almost $24 million. President Bush at least $18 million, and Governor Clinton at least just over $7 million. Throughout the campaign, all the candidates have attacked the press in one way or another at one time or another, none more frequently than President Bush and Vice President Quayle. CBS News correspondent Mark Phillips has more about the so-called media bashing in tonight's Campaign 92 reality check.
On the surface, it seems a simple case of George Bush trying to shoot the messenger.
I love my favorite bumper sticker. Annoy the media, re-elect Bush.
In almost every interview, the media is accused of being biased.
Pure partisan charge, picked up by a lot of bleeding hearts in the media.
At almost every campaign stop, the pollsters are accused of being wrong.
Don't believe these crazy pollsters.
And as for the analysts,
Here's some crackpot comes on and tells you what you think. We don't need that in the United States.
the Republican crowds love it, which is part of the point.
Candidates who are trailing tend to bash the media because it's a way of energizing their base to say, you know, it's not over, don't give up, the polls are wrong.
But there's a natural process at play as well. In politics, as in sports, the team that's ahead appears to be doing things right. The trailing team seems like it can't make its game plan work. The debates were a case in point.
What reporters did was focused on the visual moment at which Bush looked at his watch. As a candidate who wanted to be out of that debate, they could, if he were ahead in the polls, have said, a confident George Bush looks at his watch, fully, believing that when the debate was over, he'd go back to the race and win the presidency.
But if George Bush has been complaining of a liberal bias in the press, he's been hammered even by conservative commentators, adding insult to injury.
It's really sort of a personal thing. It's his style and his way of going about business and sort of the transparency of the man when he's engaged in politics.
Conservatives and conservative Republicans, pundits, who know George Bush, and they don't think that he's been a worthwhile president. They really don't support him. They dislike him.
Of course, George Bush isn't alone in having a rough time with the media. Early on, Bill Clinton was virtually written off during the charges of marital infidelity and draft evasion. And Ross Perot's media relationship has been anything but cozy.
I wish you could have been with me backstage with all those news people whining about the fact that I hit them a couple of times tonight.
But in this game, what goes around comes around. Now that the election story is a tightening in the polls, George Bush's tune has changed. Last week,
don't believe these nutty pollsters.
Today,
I'm encouraged with the way these polls that we live and die by are shaping up.
In the final week, George Bush gets an advantage from the very press conventions that he's condemning.
in the end, one certain prediction about this campaign can be made. The winner will think the coverage was honest and fair. The losers will blame it, at least in part, for their defeat. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Washington.
Stay here with us now for more of the CBS Evening News, including American women offered a new choice in contraception.